what are Metis' plans for 2022?
Oh, I gave it away probably. With the decentralized storage, that's the one that we're developing right now. Yeah, reputation engine for the DACs. That's what we're developing right now, and of course, the integration with with larger communities. So right now we are approaching and working with Avi, for example, to integrate the chain links, so all the infrastructure projects that we're bringing in, and other projects that have larger communities as well. So this is our plan for 22.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben, market analyst from CoinGecko, and as usual, I'll be the host of today's podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Elena Sinelnikova, the co-founder of Metis DAO, and I think some of you might also be familiar with Crypto Chicks. She's also the founder there. And welcome to the podcast, Elena.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I already gave a short brief on where you are and what today might be about. But if you could just please elaborate on who you are and kind of share your history a little bit.
Thank you. I came from the software development background. So prior to getting into crypto, for 20 some years, I was in the software development, developing the software in the police cars. This is really, really actually exciting, but still the corporate job. And then, yes, so my friend Natalia Amelin has actually got me interested in crypto. And that was in very kind of interesting way. So she was not able to install a wallet on a Windows machine. And I helped her. And that's where I discovered, there is this thing is called blockchain, and that is decentralized. And it's like, whoa, this is such a cool technology. So long story short, we ended up founding Crypto Chicks with Natalia, started from a small meetup group and then growing. Now we're in 56 countries. Yes, within the Crypto Chicks, there is an incubator, Crypto Chicks Hatchery, and Metis was one of the projects that we incubated. And the mission and vision of this project is so closely matched to Crypto Chicks and also our hearts that I became a CEO of this company. So I accepted the offer to co-found, became a CEO also, and Natalia also joined later on Metis as the so she's kind of like leading the ecosystem development in the sense that she is researching the projects and bringing them in and helping them with the funding. That's what her role is right now. Yes, but we, since the mission and vision of Metis was so close to us, yes, so this is our now primary role to work for Metis, to be here and to develop this amazing technology.
Yeah, so you kind of given it away, right? We're here to talk about Metis. So could you just tell us what Metis is about?
Metis is the decentralized platform for companies. So the end goal is everyone in the world would be able to come, click a button, and create their own company. In a decentralized way, it means that nobody can, prohibit or delete or in some way be on the way of this company, right? So, and that is our goal. So the companies, there's a decentralized autonomous companies, that's how we call them. They are decentralized in the sense that, again, nobody can influence those companies, and it's available for everyone. And since Metis is a decentralized platform, So it is available everywhere across the world. And that's what we are building. So we're in the process right now building of it. What we started with building with, of course, the infrastructure to support it all. We've been really successful with our TVL is growing and projects are coming, new projects every day. So we have hundreds of projects now. I cannot, before the 100 we counted how many we had, but now we stopped counting because it just kind of already grew so big it's pointless to count. So that's what Metis is about. So we have also lots of details, and probably we uncover a little bit today of what else we do.
Just to clarify, because you mentioned decentralized autonomous companies or DAC, that is kind of one of the things Metis is trying to offer, but ultimately Metis is a L2 solution, right? It's a roll-up. If I'm not mistaken, it's a fork of an optimism roll-up.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So it's like your goal was to create a platform for DACs, which from when I read the white paper, it kind of sounds like a company registrar, decentralized company registrar. It sounds quite familiar to that.
That's correct.
Similar to that. So I'm curious, right? How and why did you choose the optimism solution for this, or for the roll-up solution, right? Why not ZK Sync or Plasma or any of the other L2 solutions?
Yeah, so that is a great question. Of course, while researching all that and started to build, so we were looking at different, of course, layer ones, and Ethereum was obvious choice because of the ecosystem. And our project Metis is very much ecosystem oriented. In terms of the economy, for example, so the majority of vast majority of tokens, more than 90%, so it's community generated as well, and also distributed in the community. So it's not going to the funding team, and so we had the community at heart from the very beginning. That's why we chose Ethereum. So, and then it's also was the question like which solution to choose, because of course layer one is not practical to use because of the gas fees and the speed, but mostly because of the gas fees. We wanted it to be decentralized, and that's what we have at heart and soul, the decentralization. So optimistic rollup came into play because this is the solution that, first of all, easier to develop than ZK Sync. So ZK is still, is quite a way to develop, and also to make it EVM compatible. It's another task, right? So there was like many obstacles on the side on the side of ZK Syncs, and ZKs are great, right? So once they will be, so we might even adopt this technology later on. But so far, optimistic rollup was kind of like the optimal solution for us. It's decentralized enough for us to be based on, and also it is solving the problem of the gas fees, and it's EVM compatible, which is compatible with, and we can bring majority of the projects from Ethereum and from other EVM compatible networks without any changes. And then this is what we happen in the reality. So we counted on it, and it happens. The project takes maybe like an hour or half an hour to integrate into Metis right now. So that's how easy it is because of that, of what we envisioned it will be. So that's why is optimistic rollup. So the kind of the good combination of the decentralization, of security that inherit from Ethereum, and also the simplicity to build and simplicity to build on. These are the factors that we chose.
Because it was quite interesting, because I was reading some of the Medium articles released by Metis, and one of the things that were discussed, because when you forked off Optimism, you actually you kind of changed the EVM a bit. You kind of modeled it after your own new model called the Andromeda model, and which actually brings me to my next question, right? How does this model ensure that Metis is more secure and decentralized?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was also the original optimistic role, and we're very, very grateful to Optimism team, and we're great friends with them. I knew them for ages now, so and grateful that they gave us a head start and developed that code for the optimistic rollup that we used. But for our purposes, we also modernized it a bit. So what we did, we made it more scalable by adding multi-chain and multi-VMs. So for example, if you create a company, you don't want your company sitting and waiting in line with other ones to commit the transactions. So that's why we made this more distributed, creating multi-VMs. It means that every time new company comes in, the new chain gets rolled out, and there's no need to wait. So it's also prevent like some of the crashes, because the crashes of other networks, as we see it, that are related to the volume of transactions. So this is something that mitigated by this our change as well. So this is like one of the changes that we made. Also, we envisioned, and this is something that we're developing right now, is a decentralized storage, which also, first of all, is needed for the companies. So if you're a company, you need to store the data, you need to share it. It's also in a permissioned way. So it means that like not all the data should be available to the public or to anyone to see. So you have to have a control of who you want this data to be available. But at the same time, store the data on chain would bring lots of ease, because right nowadays, if you develop something on the blockchain, you cannot store data there. You have to do it on chain, but then you have to create all kind of security mechanisms to protect this data, store it somewhere else. It opens up room for more hacks, for bugs, and so on and so forth. So this is something that we're doing as well. So we're developing decentralized storage, which actually help us not only provide this service for the companies to store the data and share the data, but also to be able to roll up many transactions, much more transactions into one batch, therefore bringing the transaction costs down to cents. So that is also one of the changes that we are making right now. It's not in production yet, and we're still developing it, but this is something that we are working on, and that's the kind of, if you ask like how we're different or what changes we did, so this is the one that we are doing right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really good, right? And we keep talking about DACs, decentralized autonomous companies, but I think we still have yet to define it, which I think now it's a good time. So, a lot of people think about DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. What's the difference? DAC, DAO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, so this concept also, and when we were thinking about it, of course, we wanted to do the DAOs, and we looked at the DAOs as the base and what DAOs do and how they work and how people interact there. So DAOs is kind of maybe the subset of DACs. So one of the types of DACs that going to be available, it's the DAOs. So DAOs, they have governance, right? So governance mechanism, which is usually carried on by voting. So basically members, they have some number of tokens and they have voting power based on these tokens, and they vote and they make decisions. So this is the voting is basically, I think, the core mechanism of the DAOs nowadays, how we see it. We wanted to take it a step further, because to run the business, it's not enough just to do the voting. So you have to be able to, to hire people, to pay to people, to communicate to people. You also need some kind of the reporting. You need to also pay taxes, if you choose to. Hopefully you do. But yes, all these mechanisms needs to be developed. And the heart also of that, and this is something that we also were really passionate about, and this is something that we're developing in the first place, is the reputation engine. It means that on Metis, you will be able to gain a reputation, doing and opening the companies, doing the transaction, paying to people, hiring people. And that is going to go into your reputation reputation, track record, but you will have a choice whether to share it or not to share it. But it actually brings the credibility to to your account, to people, to actually, they can see to trust you, not to trust you. So there will be some of the business need in that sense to be able to see who you're working with, right? So because if you carry the business, this is the trust is really, really important, and that's one of the trust pieces of the puzzle that we bring in into Metis.
Sounds amazing because I actually came from consulting and I also have a legal background. So it sounds like a lot like what you're talking about is basically a decentralized method to introduce corporate governance, to introduce basically, like you mentioned, running a business. It's all that kind of factors, and you bring it on the blockchain, and it kind of also introduces a lot of new benefits. Like, for example, in a traditional company, you don't really know what goes behind doors, but in this DAC, for example, you can actually see how well they pay their employees, how fast they pay their employees on time, and I think that's what you meant, right, by the reputation side
exactly.
of it.
Yes. But and you choose to share or not to share some of the pieces of the data, right? So in that sense, you have the full control, and that's probably how it's different. For example, because we heard a lot of rumors about, and then the China reputation system that the country has, right? The social reputation, right? So and there's lots of scare about it in the in the Western world, right? So this is something that people look very, very cautious about. But yes, at the very beginning, we wanted to give it this power to the people to share or not to share this data, and that's how it is different. And by the way, when I talk to people from China, they all love in this social reputation because this is something that they can trust, and then it's making life easier. So that's how they at least tell it to me.
It's pretty cool because it removes it's a replacement for an auditor. It's not just financial and accounts auditor. There's also governance auditors to make sure checks and balances are in place. I think it's a very cool concept.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So right, you kind of established what DACs are, but what we didn't talk about is there's actually also a Metis token. So if you could share how the Metis token plays a role in the Metis ecosystem, that'd be great.
Yeah, Metis token, and again, I said that majority of the tokens they're generated with the community activities, right? So this is something that they released in decentralized way. What is the utility of the Metis token is the gas fees on Metis. This is what they used for, and we also designed it the way that in kind of like if you say the dollar value, it will be the same value all the time, so it will not go up if the Metis token goes up. So this is how we design. Of course, as we decentralized and our team decentralized, maybe the future governments of Metis will decide otherwise, but right now it is the vision. So what it allows us to do, the Metis token, and that's why we created it, to develop and support the community, because currently the community development program that we have, for example, it's we kick back 30% of the gas fees back to the project. So if you are the project creator, like project owner, and you create, let's say, project, this is basically a smart contract on Metis. From every transaction, you get kicked back 30%. So it means that you get additional funding and then more volume of transactions you have, more funding you have in this case as well. And especially it is kind of great way to support the projects, because majority of the projects, they offload the gas fees to their users. So users pay gas fees. So the project itself is actually, making money on using that way. And the projects, they do need funding. So we see it. So especially all the new projects that coming in, everyone's struggling, with the funding, and this source of the funding is helping us to help them.
It's interesting because you mentioned Metis as a gas token, but I think it's also more than that, right? I think there's talks about how it can be used to be staked and
That yes,
scale the
definitely.
network. Yeah.
It's yes. So of course in the DEC, and this is something the experiment that we did already for our first release of the first version of the DECs. If you go to portal.metis.io, you can create the company. So yes, the staking mechanism. Every time you create a company or you join the company, you will be required to put in a stake. So it means that your intentions are serious, right? So on that is something that yes, the Metis token is used for staking. And of course, if you you can always take this stake back if you want to, on back off on a deal or something. But of course, it's going to go into your reputation power, and so that is the mechanism of incentivizing, and also maybe incentivizing not to do bad things as well.
From what I understand from reading the white paper, essentially what Metis is trying to do as well is to incentivize people to start DACs, and part of that is part of the requirement to start DAC is to stake your Metis tokens, which helps secure the network. But the more people stake in your DAC to participate in your DAC, the more mining power and benefits they also get, right, by staking the Metis token. Is that
That's correct? That's the program that we ran. So this program is ended. So there will be different mechanism for DCs as you create in the companies. But yes, so this is a good promotional mechanism. So it's like every time we run, let's say like the stress test or the load test. So this is good. So when you introduce the program like that, so we basically pay people for their testing. So they come in,
Okay.
they stick, and then yes. So we have this natural kind of flow of like how the things are working, and this is allow us to test at the same time and reward people for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to understand, because why are DACs needed, right? Because what are the current issues with on-chain crypto communities like DAOs? Why do we need DACs? Why aren't normal legal entities sufficient?
That normal legal entities is not probably sufficient. Well, if you work in a decentralized world, of course, if you run in a blockchain company, for example, like I am CEO of Metis, we're hiring people from across the world, which would not be possible if let's say that we register a company like let's say in Canada or in Singapore. So there are restrictions that who we can hire, how we pay, the banks, there's lots of regulations and restrictions that put this way. And not that we don't comply to them. It takes us a lot of money and time as well. For example, and just give you example, in order to open bank account here for Metis, so I think I went to the bank and I only got the account like 2 months later, right? So 2 months was without. So in these 2 months, I have to pay people the salaries. I have to, I have to work somehow. I have to operate somehow. So this were the kind of like the things that were put in the way, right? So, and there's lots of things like that, like as well as when you go and you register the company, you do the, all the lawyers and everything. So there's lots of time and money. Money is aside, but time that you spend on it. And some of the founders, and that's what we saw in the Crypto Chicks Hatchery, they give up and say like, I cannot do it. This is stupid because I just to simply open a bank account. So that is all this, limitations that exist in the current system. And beside, if you, for example, in the Bahamas, we did the hackathon at the Crypto Chicks, we did hackathon in the Bahamas. So there's the whole story just to open a bank account there, because everything needs to be signed in a blue ink, and they have to do it in person, and you have to mail it, and then you have to be approved. And then only like, 10% of people get approved. Everybody else is get denied. So that's the reality. You cannot open your company. So with that, with Metis, we would like to provide the opportunity for everyone. No matter if you're in Africa, Bahamas, Australia, you can open the company and you can start it right away, like with one click of a button.
That's amazing, right? It's like you said, it addresses a lot of the existing issues with the way we operate in the corporate world today.
Exactly, and if actually to start to do the startup, you don't need the bank account. You don't need to register a company right away because you're not producing any profit. But what you need to start paying to people, and all this, opening bank account registration is actually getting on the way, because when you start paying people, then you'll need to do all these things, but you just simply don't have money or don't have time for it. So that is just the lowering the bar for people to open their own businesses.
A question I have about DACs is that, I can imagine DACs eventually become very influential and powerful. So, for example, if Apple, for example, decides to set up a DAC, there'll be a lot of people interested in it. And my question is, are there any mechanisms in place to mitigate the centralization of powers within DACs? And is it even necessary in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. Good point, Ben. It's not necessarily, because so the way that we imagine it, and then the world that we're building it, it's the different companies that can come in on board. So decentralized autonomous company doesn't mean that this company is decentralized inside, right? So you can run a centralized company on Metis, right? So it's decentralized on the way that nobody can take it away from you. So that's the decentralization piece that is we put in this decentralized meaning. Yes, you can run your own DAO there, but you can run your Apple, which is centralized company as well there. It still will be decentralized in a way that nobody can take it from you. So that's how we imagined it, and that's how we're building it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we don't want to enforce anything. You don't try to put people in the box, right? So you just give a tool for people to work with, right? So and this is we're just producer of the tools and the infrastructure, but we're listening to what people actually want. Right now, we are addressing, and we're talking to Web2 companies who, by the way, don't know that they are Web2 companies. They think they're enterprises. So we're talking to them, and yes, so we see how they run business and whether they actually need to onboard on our platform. Maybe they don't need to, right? So maybe the big companies, the large companies don't need to, but maybe there is some aspect of it that they actually do need when they go international across the borders, when they start using, crypto and NFTs, something like that. So this is like, and then all of a sudden the need arise.
Right. Aside from the security and the DAC infrastructure, which you discussed quite heavily, what separates Metis from other L2s like Arbitrum, etc.?
Mm-hmm. So that's of course, as you said, the whole vision of the DACs. This is and that's why we're creating it. So it's not only layer 2. So our layer 2 for us, it's only the means to reach our goal. So and that's probably the main differentiator. But at the same time, I told you about with the changes that we did, and also with the decentralized storage, with the multi-VM, multi-chain. So this is like technology-wise, that's what probably makes us apart, and as well community-oriented approach, right? So we have, Metis token with which we can support the communities, with which we can actually share the profit, through the mechanism of the builder mining, and therefore it allows us to build a stronger community, because in the end, when we were choosing Ethereum, we chose Ethereum because they have a community. So in the end, whoever has the largest community, the strongest community, so that's the network that people probably attractive the most for people.
One of the features I actually saw on Metis is actually
sorry, I forgot. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for reminding me. That's right. Yes, it's a policy. It's yes. Again, this need came from our Crypto Chicks hatchery, because we working with startups really closely, and then listening to what their problems are. Majority of them, they don't have funds to hire blockchain developers, and blockchain developers are actually the rare find as well. So we also wanted to include the no-code possibilities, so people can create and share the smart contract templates. So, and then the other people can come and at the click of the button deploy the templates. So, and then therefore creating kind of like the fork of some of the popular project or anything like that, and have an ability, to develop it. And yes, so these are the tools that we had in mind. And if you go to polis.metis.io, so there is the developer mode in there, and you can already see the smart contract templates in there. So this is something that we also started developing.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. There's not enough blockchain talent, and I think that's one of the largest issues in the space, right? Talent's very scarce. A lot of people want to come in, but we don't have developers. And it's pretty cool that Metis offers a solution to that by offering smart contract templates.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So, this is kind of a crazy question here. I just thought about it, but has the team ever considered adopting a decentralized stablecoin model like Terra, just for the ecosystem?
Yeah, really good question. Of course, we thought about it. But let me remind you that we are the more infrastructure project, right? So we are creating an infrastructure for people to, of course, scalable solution. This is like just kind of like one of the byproduct that we have, but as well for people to run companies. As our strength is in the community, and that is what we envision to be. If there is the plan for decentralized coin, so we do it through the partner. I mean that we attract the partner that has this already decentralized coin onto Metis network, and that's how we do it. So we don't do it ourselves in that sense, but we leveraging off the power of the community to do such things, and we've been quite successful in that. So we've been able to bring other DACs and projects into Metis ecosystem. And yes, like Terra and or the other decentralized coins would be, of course, the desirable kind of like projects that would come on board.
We talk a lot about the Ethereum ecosystem, right? And that's kind of like a large reason why you decided to set up shop on an Ethereum L2 solution. What are your thoughts, on the exponential growth of L2 solutions for Ethereum? Is there such a thing as too many, which kind of dilutes liquidity for the entire network?
Yes, they all have like all the L2 solutions. They have their different probably flavors, visions, desires, plans, right? So, and I actually very thrilled to see that many LR2 solutions. So the projects can have, they have to choose from, right? So like if I have only, 2 or 1, well, I guess I have to go with that one. But if you have many, it creates a healthy competition. But at the end, we reach in the same goal. And layer 2s are, for Ethereum, let's say it's vital and necessary. So despite the update that Ethereum is running right now, that at the end is going to be ETH 2.0, layer 2 is the way to go in the Ethereum Foundation vision. So there will be business will not be possible without the layer 2s, and that's the kind of like go-to strategy for Ethereum layer 2s. So having many of them is actually good, and it's not only solving the problem of the gas fees and the fast transactions, but also providing projects a choice on which community to be in, where to go to. But again, if they are EVM compatible, let's say that integration and moving from layer 2 to layer 2 is really like very, very easy, right? So if you think you did a mistake and you ended up on the wrong layer 2, maybe the next day you go to another one. But yes, it creates a problem of the liquidity, but this is completely different problem, and that's probably what projects have to think about.
I guess the last question to round off today's session is, what are Metis' plans for 2022?
Oh, I gave it away probably. With the decentralized storage, that's the one that we're developing right now. Yeah, reputation engine for the DACs. That's what we're developing right now, and of course, the integration with with larger communities. So right now we are approaching and working with Avi, for example, to integrate the chain links, so all the infrastructure project that we're bringing in, and other projects that have larger communities as well. So this is our plan for 22 as well. So, and I would like to commend on our Metis team. So right now we're growing big, but we have an excellent team that is taking us to these goals, right? So this is, for me, it became quite a journey when at the beginning, like all the founders, we had to do everything ourselves. But then as we hired people, as we grew community, the projects are growing. So now is we're creating more leaders, and the meet is taking life of its own, right? And this is very exciting for me to see, and really looking forward to the future.
Right. Is there anything else before we close off you'd like to share with the audience? Final words?
Yes, of course. So guys, stay healthy in this our COVID times. Stay cool and stay decentralized as well. Because decentralization is the coolest thing that we can bring to the world, and let's do it together.
Right. Thank you so much, Elena, for coming on.
Thank you so much, Ben, for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
This podcast is provided as part of the overall information on cryptocurrency contained on our website, is for your general information only, and does not howsoever constitute any endorsement, financial or investment advice, nor any solicitation or offer of securities or other financial instruments. CoinGecko and the podcast presenter makes no warranties, implied or express, of any kind in relation to this podcast, including, without limitation, the accuracy and updatedness of its content. All opinions and recommendations there in the podcast are based on the personal opinion of the presenter. Please conduct your own research and procure professional advice should you, at your own risk, decide to howsoever invest or trade in relation to the content contained in the podcast.
For the latest crypto prices, visit our website. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up to date on the latest crypto trends.